Grcie Jiu-Jitsu rocks. Welcome to the Grcie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast, a podcast dedicated to Grcie Jiu-Jitsu and all things Grcie, including self-defense, competition, anti-bullying, women's self-defense and empowerment, nutrition, and most especially, the people involved in Grcie Jiu-Jitsu. This podcast is for the average Joe. It's for anyone who practices, trains, teaches, or just loves to talk about or hear about Grcie Jiu-Jitsu. We'll explore the lives of Grcie Jiu-Jitsu practitioners, how they got involved in the art, and what effect it's had on their lives. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Welcome to episode 13 of the Grcie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast. As always, I'm your host, Marty Josie, and thanks for listening. My guest today is Grcie Jiu-Jitsu black belt Chet Schemahorn, and we'll be meeting him in just a moment. But before that, today's quote is, "If you don't know self-defense, you don't know jiu-jitsu." And that quote is from none other than the legendary Rickson Grcie. And Rickson just this week, as many of you may know, started his own jiu-jitsu federation called the Jiu-Jitsu Global Federation. And I'll have a link to that website in the show notes. And here's what Master Rickson had to say about it.
Welcome. I'm Rickson Grcie and the president of the Jiu-Jitsu Global Federation. We create this organization to support the Jiu-Jitsu international community and to promote excellence of our beloved art and philosophy. We will provide quality service to practitioners, instructors, school owners, and also to competitors, referees, independent tournament promoters. By using a digital platform, we will connect the Jiu-Jitsu global community and listen to their opinions. We will create competition and educational events, starting with tournaments having improved rules, the certified instructors training path, and a series of programs designed to preserve the integrity of our art, which in the last 20 years or so has been losing effectiveness. I suggest that you become curious about our mission so we can work together to bring Jiu-Jitsu back to its full potential and bring more people to the mat. Thank you.
Okay, very interesting. I'm very excited about this. Grandmaster Rickson starting his own federation. And I'm very interested to see what it's going to be like and what it will mean to the jiu-jitsu community and world. So we'll be keeping you updated, of course, on the podcast and kind of maybe giving our opinion on it as well. Okay, without any further ado, let's meet Chet Schemahorn. My guest today is Chet Schemahorn. And Chet is the head instructor and owner of LaGrange Grcie Jiu-Jitsu as well as Fort Wayne Grcie Jiu-Jitsu, both in Indiana. And he's also a Grcie Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So welcome, Chet.
Thanks.
I've heard about you for some time, and but never had the chance to actually meet you or talk to you. So I'm glad I'm getting to do that today.
Yeah, I try to make it out to all the ICP courses, but I don't make all of them. So I think I missed the one where you went through.
Yeah, and I've seen where you've been pretty busy with seminars and things like that as well lately.
Yeah, so. Try to be.
All right. Well, why don't we just start by, I know you've got an interesting story. I've heard a few little tiny tidbits about it. So tell us about your journey, how you got started, and some of the twists and turns that happened along the way, and how you ended up where you are today, Chet.
Well, basically, I guess I was never around any certified instructors or anything like that. So my journey started with the instructional tapes. So I think I ordered the tapes the night after I watched the first UFC, and of course I had to wait for it to come out on VHS. I didn't get to watch the pay-per-view as it happened, and it happened to be the first one that was released for us was UFC 2, where Royce had 4 fights that night, and
oh yeah. And the tapes you're referring to are the original Grcie instructionals?
The basics, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I don't even think they'd released the street defense or the intermediate or advanced at that time. So yeah, it was just the little basics, and so I got those and started watching them and practicing with my cousin and my best friend, and we started out in the backyard and moved to my dad's garage, and then later on ended up opening a school, so it was pretty cool. Well, it wasn't long after I started, I got an invitation to go to a seminar with Royce in Columbus, Ohio. I think Jeff Hudson had put it on, and that was pretty awesome. That was the first time I got to meet him and, actually feel his presence and see him on the mat, and, just the way they moved, it was like, man, I've got to study this, so it was awesome. And at that time, they wouldn't promote blue belts outside of their school. I think I had been to about 6 seminars and been training for about a year and was feeling pretty confident. And I think I'd already tapped a blue belt once and, was bucking for my blue belt. So in talking with Royce about it, it was like, no, you just got to go to California. So it just so happened about that time, Horian came out with what he called the camp. And it was 30 hours with him, 6 hours a day for $500. And so I was able to catch that and go out and complete the week and get my blue belt, and everything kind of started rolling from there, getting accepted into what they called the Training Association at the time. And then I basically would go out 4 times a year for about a week at a time, and then come back home, work on everything that I was doing wrong, try to fix it, and then go back out and pick up more information when I could. And I always would time trips if Ilya was going to be in town visiting the grandkids, so I could spend as much time with him as possible. And I probably got around 120 hours or so with him.
Nice.
Yeah, which was just so lucky. So lucky. But, yeah, that's kind
So it sounds like you were really, really dedicated, because it wasn't an easy path where you had access to someone, constant instruction as far as live instructor there where you were. So you really had to be very dedicated to make those trips out, fill in the gaps, when you got some of the more updated information, and really apply it where you were. How were you able to kind of sustain that motivation over a period of time doing it like that?
I don't know. I mean, even today I feel more motivated than I think I ever have. It's like the more I learn, the more I want to learn. And I mean, every time I've ever got stuck anywhere, the solution is so amazing and simple, and just I don't know. It's almost addictive in a way for me.
Absolutely. I feel the same way. So you kept making trips out to the academy, and then how long, over what period of time were you doing this and able to keep progressing in that fashion?
Oh, geez. Let's see. I got my blue belt in July of 96. I think it was February of 97 when I got accepted into the instructor program and the being able to have a Grcie Training Association. So that was where I started going the 4 times a year. and it was, what was it? I know I was promoted to a certified instructor in November of 2003, because I got my brown belt then. I got promoted to assistant instructor, I believe it was in February of 2001, and at that time, the instructor program, you had to know all the stand-up self-defense moves and, the basic ground techniques. So I had to, because I wasn't at the academy, Horian had me film 2 of my students that I taught the whole stand-up self-defense program to, and then we had a little review session with him and Elio up in their office, which was interesting. He immediately wanted to show me the mistakes I was making and correct them, and it was very interesting to say the least. So, the club defense was one I'll never forget. But anyway.
Oh yeah. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it was a long-range club attack. It was funny because he just kind of kicked the table out of the way. We were sitting in the office watching this tape, and he just kind of kicks the table out of the way and grabs a club. And of course, I never speak Portuguese, so basically, Elio stands up with a stick, and he says something in Portuguese, and Horian's like, well, you better get up and get ready.
Ready or not, here it comes. Huh?
Yeah, and he was kind of from a distance, so I did the long range where you put your arm up, and he felt like I went too soon, so he changed his strike, and went to the ribs a couple times for me, and so it was interesting. And
nice.
But yeah, it's quite amazing. So then, in November of 2003, I got promoted to certified instructor. So I'm about eight and a half years into training at that point. But I still just kept going out the 4 times a year. It's only been since I got my black belt in 2007 that I've kind of lowered it down to about twice a year I go out if I can.
Okay. What was it like when it was time to get your black belt? Did you know that was coming on any particular trip, or was it a surprise on one of your trips, or how did that happen?
Actually, I knew it was coming because they called and wanted me to come out. I mean, they didn't tell me they were going to do that, but
right.
I mean, it was the first ever belt promotion ceremony, and I had a good idea that Ed O'Neill was going to get his black belt, and when them asking me to go out, it was like sure, and so I got lucky enough to be in that first group of guys to get the black belt. I think there was 7 of us, so.
That's really cool. So Ed O'Neill was one of the others?
Yeah, Ed O'Neill and Guido Jennings.
Wow.
Marcus. Yeah, there's a bunch of those guys. So, and they had been there forever. I mean, training. I think Ed O'Neill had like 15 years in when he got his black belt. So I felt really honored that I was about 12 and a half years in. And,
nice.
So, yeah, amazing day.
What a great experience, man.
Oh, unbelievable. But the crazy thing is just like that's like you think that was the main goal and striving hard for that, and then you accomplish it, and it's like, oh, I'm just scratching the surface yet. Yeah. I thought I would have this mastered by now, but it's just the beginning. So.
Wow. Always more learning to be done, right?
Oh yeah, and it's like once you know a move and you're using a move well, then it's like every now and then you'll just land it perfectly, and you feel that where it's almost like when the Gracies are rolling with you and they catch something. It's like very rarely have I ever felt strength from any of them, and to be able to land a move and it's just clean and there's no strength and it's just perfect timing, and what I mean? It's almost like a surfer's perfect ride that they're always looking for, and you just, I crave that, so.
Just completely in the moment, completely in the flow, right?
Yeah. A lot of times it could be a sweep, it's a choke, any move, any defensive move even. Sometimes those are even the best. Block a choke and an arm lock at the same time. And just
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's something I'm certainly still striving for and developing because I tend to try to muscle it way too much. And I look forward to the time where I'll be able to kind of flow and have that ease of pulling something off, and it's just right. It's how you're really supposed to be doing it.
It's the hardest battle, though. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like I still battle that myself. You know, I'm always preaching to my students, it doesn't matter if you get tapped, but, you know, man, you get tapped, it's not any fun. So it's like, you know, your ego's like behind you, like, I can't believe you got caught. You know, why didn't you do this, that, or the other? And instead of just saying, dang, man, you did the right things, congratulations, let's go again.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but yeah, there's always that ego kind of creeps in, so you try to fight your way out hard. And,
yeah, I can certainly relate to that. I'm getting better about that, and there are days when I feel like I'm pretty decent at it. You know, I congratulate whomever pulls it off, and I kind of celebrate jiu-jitsu, you know, that it's doing so well, no matter who's doing the tapping. And then there are other days where I'm like, no, I don't want to be tapped. So, you know, trying to have more of the days where I have the better attitude about it, but it certainly is and will be for a while a work in progress, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know, if I give any of the beginners advice, it's like, man, even the experienced guys, when you get caught in something, it's like there's a chink in the armor somewhere, right? It's like, man, I messed up somewhere. Either I was sleeping on my defense, or I went too late, or I played too deep. But there was that chink there, and it's like, if you could just stop and say, dang, that was amazing. How did you set that up? Or what did I do that told you were going to catch that? You know, and just kind of get some feedback on what was actually going on, because I feel like every time I get caught, I miss that point, you know, where it's easy to stop. And then I see it, and it's hard to stop, and I'm late.
Yeah.
So when I can ask that question, that really seems to help. But I know what you mean. There's just those days where you're angry inside, and
yeah. But the more we can make it that learning experience, like you talk about, and Hedron certainly spreads that message a lot. You know, make it that learning experience, and let it increase your awareness of you know what you missed or what you could have done, and then it's a win. You know, it's a different type of win, but it's a win in itself.
Absolutely, and it's like it really focuses your attention, and then when you get the fix for the problem, it's like, man, it's yours forever, you know? I mean, when you're focused on something and you get an answer, it's like, yes. Where if somebody's just going through a set of moves in a class and, like, you don't even do that position, you know what I mean? It's like it's all going to fly over your head. It's almost like, you know, a waste of your time. But, man, when you have a focused problem. So I like my beginner guys to go to tournaments. And, you know, whether they win or lose, I don't even care about that. But they always come back like, dang, you know, this could be better. And, you know, and it just really gives them some things to focus on and see where their mistakes are.
Absolutely. Gives them some focus, some insight. I totally agree. There's nothing worse than if you're rolling and you get beat and you gain nothing from it because you don't have the attitude to, you know, what can I learn from this? How can I improve? But you just kind of get beat. Or like you said, just going through a class like a robot, going through moves, and there's just no awareness there.
Yeah.
No development.
You can't be afraid to ask questions. I mean, I'll never forget, I was out at the academy and we were training, and Huron was rolling with this guy who was from out of town, but they were just rolling, and Huron caught his patented elbow cup armbar, right? And Huron's like one of the best in the world at this armbar. So he catches it, and he catches it again. He catches it again. After the third time, I'm like, you know, why doesn't this guy ask what he's doing wrong or something, you know? And they just kept going. He kept getting the same response. And it's just sometimes we close our mind off and we run into these brick walls, and it really can shut some people down, you know? There's nothing wrong with asking. And it's like, man, what's giving you that armbar? What am I doing that gives you that armbar every time? You know, just find out what you're doing and try to, even if you can't stop it, at least you see it coming a little sooner.
That's right. You get a little closer each time to stopping it at something.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned the competition. Have you done much competition in your jiu-jitsu career? And do you still compete if you have competed?
My competition career is kind of funny. You know, I did. Back in the day here in Indiana, there wasn't much going on. But I would go to California and always fight in Horian's tournament that he'd do an annual tournament for a lot of years. So I competed in that one a lot, and then in Indiana started having some, and I did compete around in those. But some of my trophies are like there was one other guy in the division, and so I have a collection of trophies that collect dust, but some of them weren't too much. But some of the ones out in California were some amazing tournaments, and I actually got to compete in 2003. Horian did he called it a Trip of a Lifetime tournament. If you won your weight division, you got to have a super fight with another division winner to fight for a chance for a free ticket to Brazil. And we got to stay with Elio for 7 or 9 days, I think it was.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it was incredible.
How cool is that?
It was incredible. So I got lucky enough, and I think there was a 30-minute time limit on this one. I did a lot of the no time limit stuff, so I had a really slow, grinded-out style, defend, and try to win at the end. But yeah, it was an amazing tournament.
Wow.
Great guys. I think in that one I fought like Phil Cardella from Helson's. He's a guy down in Texas, really good guy. Jamie Walsh, I think he's a Machado guy maybe, from California. And then a guy from San Diego, I think his name was Daniel McCowan. So just got lucky. Had a really great day,
Wow,
got the
that's
submissions,
amazing.
won the trip, and was really happy. And then once I got my brown belt, man, haven't won anything since.
You've probably been focusing a lot more on the actual instructor and teaching role, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but
I suppose, but like what was it? Last year or the year before, I went down to the Hoosier Open and I competed against Tim Sled, who's black belt under Atos, under Gavallo, and I've known Tim way back in the day. He used to be in the Grcie organization, and then was with Kaiki, and so he's a really good guy. But yeah, he caught me a couple times really quick, and whew, I was like, man. Went back and licked some wounds on that one. It's tough to get old sometimes, but.
Oh, boy, I know how that is, buddy. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I still want to think I'm in my 20s, but what's that?
I say I don't compete much anymore, so
yeah,
starting to wind her down. But I do like to roll. I try to roll in every class I teach, and it's awesome fun.
Excellent. All right. Well, Chet, tell us a little bit about your family and if they practice jiu-jitsu, as well as what you like to do on your time off the mat. If you have any hobbies or any other things you like to do.
Well, I got a wife, Angie, and my son, Thor. Thor's 6, and they both do jiu-jitsu. I think Angie's
great name, by the way.
Oh, yeah, thank you. It's my wife's
awesome.
idea. Yeah, Angie's a 1-stripe blue belt, and Thor's just about ready to get his white-yellow belt, so he's just getting started. But, yeah, we have a good time with that. And as far as free time, I don't have a lot of free time, especially now with the second school, but we burn firewood, so I spend a lot of my summer splitting firewood, getting that ready, and in the winter I shovel snow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, pull weeds in the flower beds, so kind of just, but I enjoy that, so it's all good.
That's good. Well, I'm sure having 2 schools definitely takes a lot of your time. Because just people that have one talk about how taxing that can be, but having 2, opens up a whole another thing.
Well, I got a good support crew, so I've got Cameron Price helps me, and Jeremiah Jackson's now helping me, so these guys pick up a lot of the slack and help me out. But yeah, it's good. I suppose if I've got a favorite activity, it's probably just sitting by a campfire, relaxing with the family.
Nice. Very nice. Times and activities like that, you really get to tune in and remember kind of what life's all about and what's important instead of the hustle bustle, always going somewhere and rushing. I like that. I like times that I can do things similar to that. Yeah,
and I kind of like just watching the campfire, or even just being out in nature. Yeah, I feel like when I sit and relax and sit in front of the TV, I just feel like they're trying to program how I think, and there's never any good food on TV. It's always junk food, and just the bombardment of garbage, basically, in my opinion. So when I can just sit out and watch that campfire and relax my mind, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's freeing.
Yeah.
All right. So you do teach kids, is that right?
Yep. Yep. We do.
Can you share a story about one of your most memorable children's student or child students? Anything that stands out?
I'm enjoying one now. I've got a little guy. I think he's about 13 now. He started with me when he was 4, so I'm just bringing him up into the adult class, and he's getting to play with these bigger bodies. But he's always been a really small kid for his age, and but yeah, it's kind of fun watching him play with the adults now. Because I can play really nice with him and make him go through all the motions, but they're sometimes a little more resistive. So he's getting these instances where he doesn't get his way, so to speak. So it's
all right
to see him just kind of adapt with the technique on the fly. It's kind of amazing. But they kind of make up their own jiu-jitsu after a while. They have natural movements, and it's awesome. It reminds me of watching Huron and Henner come into their own. So I started. I think Halleck was really young. I remember, I think the first time I met Halleck, he ran out and Horian rolled back on his back, and he just leaped up basically into Horian's arms, who was stuck up straight, and he just spins right into the most beautiful arm bar.
Nice.
But, wow. Here's the little guy who can barely walk, and he's doing better arm bars than.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so amazing. So.
It's great that you have known them so long and you got to see that and see them all kind of grow up and progress and everything.
Oh yeah, it's so amazing. Like I say, I mean, I feel so blessed that to be around Elio, and it's one of the most amazing people I've ever met. And but then Horian, when you get to be around him, he's like the best teacher I've ever met. Just bar none. I mean, he picks up on mistakes and fixes the problem in a way where, I don't know if you've ever noticed, like sometimes somebody will fix a superficial problem to a technique where they fix that problem they see, the easy fix, and then the person goes through the technique and they run into kind of almost the same mistake again. So it's like they fix another thing, and they keep fixing their way back to the original problem that causes the whole mess, right? And Horian just had a way of, his first correction was the one that made the technique work. And it was so amazing to me, because sometimes students will get frustrated when they keep making mistakes, even though it's not the same mistake, but it's on the same technique, and I can't do this. This is too,
Right.
It just, that anxiety builds, and it never builds when he's around. He diffuses it just like instantly. And it was just, I've always been so impressed with the teaching skills of the Grandmaster, for sure. So.
I am too, and I know the few times I've had a chance to be around him, just his presence, that ease, like you said, that just a way of lessening or eliminating the anxiety, just a calming presence, for sure, and amazing insight.
Which is funny with him, because when I was going through the original instructor program, when it was me and him, I felt the opposite.
Oh yeah.
His eyes would pierce through me, and my brain would turn to mush. It was just crazy.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, when we'd be out in a room full of students, I could just feel him making the students calm, and just so.
Yeah.
So, but he's a very intense person, and I suppose that's why I was always attracted to them, and why I've always trained with Horian and his family. So
it can be calm and laid back, but turn it up when he needs to, right?
Yeah. Just complete,
right on.
To have that choice, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I did a post the other day on Facebook, and I caught some flack from some people on it. And it was, my post basically was saying that in today's society, we need a nonviolent self-defense. In other words, with the ability to sue anybody for any reason almost,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can help somebody that's in a car accident, and they will sue you sometimes.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing.
Let alone if you're defending yourself and you apply a hard arm lock on somebody and their arm hurts every time they move, they're going to sue you too. And just in having that type of a society, it's like jiu-jitsu to me is the perfect martial art, because it allows for choice. You can choose just to control them. You don't even have to submit somebody. If they can't get up, they're going to get tired. When they're tired, they're done. You know what I mean? It's like you don't even have to hurt them. Or if you so choose, you can hurt somebody as much as you want when you're in control of them, right? But
You got it.
Like I'll talk to my students and we'll talk about a fighting situation, and they'll be talking about what they might do, and I get mounted, and then I'm going to hit them a good one. I'm like, whoa, you can't hit when you get mounted. If a police officer walks up when you're mounted on someone and you hit them, that's basically battery because your life was not in jeopardy if you're mounted and in control. You know what I mean? And if you're
of course.
And if you're on the bottom, you really don't want to be hitting because say you hit them in the forehead or above the eye and you split the eye open and they're bleeding. Where's that blood go?
Mm-hmm.
It follows gravity. It's going to be one drop in your eye and you've got whatever this guy mugging you's got, So it's like
exactly.
Whether you're dealing with a lawsuit or criminal charges or even just diseases, it's like the nonviolent approach. Get in, get out clean. Plus, if you're just going to do nonviolence, like why would you even fight? If you can help it. And so I love jiu-jitsu for that. It gives me confidence, but yet I'm not like I want to test it. I get to test it all the time on the mat,
Yeah, I love what you're saying about that. I mean, I couldn't agree more with the choice it gives you. You can use just as much needed to control a situation, with that confidence, or if it's an extreme situation, you can always take it to a more lethal level or a more brutal level. That option's there, but you don't have to. There's so many other bigger picture things to consider in an altercation than let me beat this guy up, and those are great examples that you gave to that.
Yeah, it allows for us to have humanity, and be human.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. Just one more reason it's the perfect art, man.
Oh, that's how I believe.
I agree. So let's change gears for a moment. I know you've trained with some great people in your time, including several Gracies. Is there someone that you haven't had a chance to train with, and is there anybody living or deceased that you'd love to train with if you had the chance?
The only one I can think of deceased that would really intrigue me was Grcie. Again, he was raised by Ilio, and he was considered champion of the family, and I just, I was so amazed with him. Actually, any of the family that I've trained with have been all amazing in their own rights, but yeah, I think Holes really stands out for me. Roll with him.
Okay.
But any of them, I feel like a white belt when I'm with any of them.
What about is anybody that's still living that you haven't had the chance to that you'd really like to have that opportunity?
Oh man, in the Grcie family?
No, just anybody in jiu-jitsu.
Oh, anybody in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess maybe somebody like Marcelo Garcia would be fun to roll with. I don't know. I tell you, when I'm with Henner, Huron, Halleck, the whole family out there. Now there's a whole younger crop of them coming up, and then even Hoyce's kids, right? They're getting to age, so it's like, yeah, my hands are full.
Right on.
But no, I love to roll with anyone. I feel like I learned from white belts to black belts. It doesn't matter. So.
Great. So do you have a favorite quote or motto that inspires you, Chet, or that you live by?
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Okay, that's a great one.
Favorite one.
Absolutely.
Then there's one Ilio always told me that I really like, and he always said, "Give me a lever big enough, and I can lift the whole world."
Ah, yeah. Perfect quote illustrating leverage, right?
Yes. Those are probably my two main ones.
What's been the most challenging thing over your whole journey to black belt? Does anything stand out that's been the most challenging aspect of making that journey?
I think learning that it's okay to tap. I started my training association, which we were playing like it was a school, but I was never certified. But I was just simply a blue belt. And, I had all these big, strong, tough guys coming in, and a few of them stuck with me. And as we climbed the ranks, they were always below me because they could never make it out to the academy, and I was the one going out and getting promoted. But they were catching me. So, I guess just learning to not be so negative on the fact that I was getting caught and use it as a positive in a way to learn from it and, again, accept that there was a chink in the armor and I needed to fix it and make it stronger. But it's sometimes hard to eat all that humble pie.
That's true. Indeed. So you have been around quite a while, so I'm sure you've seen some jiu-jitsu itself go through some changes over the years. So what kind of changes have you seen in jiu-jitsu during your time?
Oh, I would say the biggest change I've seen, and of course I would be speaking about sport jiu-jitsu because street self-defense, the street defense has not changed. It
Right.
is the way it was when Elio taught it, and I'm really happy that Henner and Huron are staying true to that. And the punch blocks are the same. We learned all that stuff back in the day, so I love seeing that staying in the curriculum. As far as the changes, I think it's been in innovations in the sport of some of the things these guys do with grips, leverage. They're finding amazing leverage, and I think Elio would appreciate that just in the sense of how they're using the leverage, how they're controlling and all that, even though he didn't agree with the sportive approach, just because he felt like jiu-jitsu was for self-defense. But I understand how those guys, that's a whole other level, some of those guys up there right now that are coming up with these stuff. But it's always fun to watch.
Absolutely. I love seeing the innovation as well. What I don't like is how specialized it gets and acrobatic in some ways and how you can get in 50-50 or somewhere or another similar situation and just kind of stall. So some of that gets a little frustrating, but as far as seeing the skill level and the innovation, there's certainly a beauty in that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you could just sum it up in a nutshell, Chet, why do you do Grcie Jiu-Jitsu?
Why do I? Man, I love seeing people hit a technique and or defend themselves or do something they never thought they could do. And in teaching Grcie Jiu-Jitsu, I've been able to do that to hundreds of people. Whether they stop after they get their blue belt or whether they continue on. I've been lucky enough to have two of my students pass the week-long black belt test out at Torrance.
Awesome.
Here on, and they're just, I don't know, it's just amazing for me to sit back and watch some of these guys where they're just, I remember what they were like when they came in and how jiu-jitsu changes someone's confidence, their personality, that even their demeanor and how they handle other people, and it's such an amazing thing, a positive thing. So
it really is. I mean, it literally changes people's lives, and you certainly had your hand in doing that with several people. So total respect to you, Chet.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Do you want to give us your websites for people that might be visiting your area or live in your area?
Sure. The LaGrange one is www.lagrangegraciejujitsu.com. And the Fort Wayne one is www.GJJFortWayne.com.
Awesome, and I'll be putting links to those in the show notes on the website as well.
Awesome.
I do appreciate, Chet, the time with you and the insight that you provided, and you've had a great journey. So thanks so much, and keep up the good work, man.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I look forward to meeting you.
All right, same here. Okay, time for our Make an Impact, Make a Difference segment. I'm sure many of you heard by now of the practice or the notion of random acts of kindness. I remember it came out as a bumper sticker at first, and then I believe there was a book. But I believe it's a very interesting and cool philosophy and practice to cultivate. Not too long ago, I was in the drive-thru at Starbucks, and when I pulled up to get my order and went to pay, the person informed me that it was taken care of by the person in front of me. And this little gesture made a huge impact on me. It really kind of put me in a great place, set the stage for my day, made me very happy. And I actually ended up doing the same thing for the car behind me as well. Kind of inspired me to do my own random act of kindness. And often, a small gesture like this can set a series of kind acts in motion, which is a cool thing. So there's no prescription for how to practice random acts of kindness. It comes from the heart. Your gift might be to pick up litter in your neighborhood, make an anonymous contribution to a charity, send some cash in an unmarked envelope to make someone experiencing financial stress breathe a little easier. Maybe you save an animal by bringing it to an animal rescue agency, or get a volunteer position feeding hungry people at a shelter. You may want to do any or all of these or others. The point is that giving is fun, and it doesn't have to be expensive. Perhaps the greatest reason to practice random acts of kindness is that it brings great contentment into your life. Each act of kindness rewards you with positive feelings and reminds you of the important aspects of life: service, kindness, and love. If we all do our part, pretty soon we will live in a much better world. And that's going to do it for this edition of the show. As always, I do appreciate you listening. Love to hear what you think about the show. If you get a moment, please head on over to iTunes and rate the show. A number of you have already done that, so thank you if you have done that. And you can post a comment there as well. You can also go to our website, www.GracieJujitsuRocks.com, and post a comment there as well. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, I'll see you on the mat.